Hello, family. Well, the topic of today is life purpose. Of course, the name of the channel is In Search of Purpose today, and my name is Jack McAdory. And I continually run into people and ask them, what's going on? How's everything going? And a lot of them are saying, and I'm just not sure why I'm even here. I'm like, wow, that's pretty deep. The existential question is to be or not to be. And of course, some of these people, in the military especially, about 20 a day are killing themselves. And that's just not acceptable in my opinion. And if I can help out by giving you some tools to be able to figure out, why are you here? What is this lifetime about? Well, perhaps we would have fewer people taking that ultimate choice to get out of here. Because in my opinion, my understanding is that if you leave early, meaning you take your life, then effectively on a spiritual level, you're going to have to come back and do this whole thing again with the same people. What the heck? So I learned a technique called QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And I will tell you, one of the major reasons was because I wanted to find out for myself, from myself, because with Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, you do a very deep hypnosis to get you to a point where your conscious mind gets completely out of the way, and your higher self or your subconscious gets an opportunity to speak. And your facilitator, and I'll leave a link in the description below about how to touch base with the QHHT. I think it's QHHT.com, but I'll get it right in the comments. And the person who invented this is a lady by the name of Dolores Cannon, and she's all over the internet. You can find her, even though she passed away, I think it was back in 2014, in her early 80s. She had spent over 40 years doing deep regression work and hypnosis, and out of those sessions with thousands of people, she got answers to all kinds of questions. Because initially when you do your session, what you're going to do, should you choose to take a session with somebody in your area, is you're going to write a list. You're going to write a list of things that you want answers to. This would be, why am I here? What is my life purpose? Why my mother? Why my father? Why this particular career? What's going on with this particular individual? Why do they keep showing up in my life? All of that type of information, your higher self knows and can give you perspective on. Now, in the past, when somebody did a deep hypnosis, the person getting hypnotized, they would come out of it most of the time and have no recollection of what had gone on. Well, that's not the case anymore. Now, the people that are going through a QHHT session, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, well, they're not going that deep in regard to, they're going deep. They're going a lot deeper than they figure, but quite often they're still part of it. They're still here. Their conscious mind hangs out a little bit. We've reached a point in our society where it's no longer necessary for you to be blank in order to get the answers. Quite often eventually you're going to be able to get the answers just by posing the question and listening to that information from your own higher self. You won't need a facilitator like me or anybody else. However, at the moment, we facilitators of QHHT, it's a good thing to have, because we are inquisitive. We're the questioners. We're the one who's going to be able to ask all of your questions that you've posed to us and follow up and continue in keeping you talking and getting more of the story. And of course, we record those sessions so that you're going to have an opportunity to be able to listen over and over again. Sometimes, you're, and by the way, you might have heard of regression therapy previously, and no, everybody's, is not some famous person, Cleopatra or whatever. Quite often they're living a very mundane life. And you wouldn't think that that lifetime that comes up has any bearing on the questions that you're asking. However, quite often, to you, when you listen to it, you're going to get the answer that is appropriate for you. You're going to get the perspective that's appropriate for you. Sometimes you'll see that there are people that were in your past life that are now in your current life. Might have been your dad previously, and now you're your husband. There's a myriad of different ways that this can come out. However, list number 1 is that type of information. Relationship, what's going on, why am I here, that type of thing. List number 2 is the one that really kind of caught my attention, which is the list of things that you would like to have healed. Like for myself, back in August of 2025, I had a stroke. So before too long, I'm going to go and search out one of my QHHT buddies and find out what the heck's going on with this thing. Because it's a challenge. Lots of things don't work the way that they used to. Left side's pretty much shut down, but it's difficult to speak. You might hear that sometimes in my voice. But you just kind of can't shut me up, so here I am. Anyway, the second list is, what do I want to have healed? Well, for me, I'd like to have more brain neuroplasticity, which means more neurons going around that blockage area that got taken out by a stroke. And then maybe I'll get some clarity on where I'm going from this point forward. To give you a little bit of perspective on that, quite often the key is you're going where you decide to go. If you have a passion for something, then perhaps this will give you some tools and perspective to follow that passion and to get where you need to go and to do what you came to do and to give your soul that experience that you're looking to get. So I guess somewhere in my in my decision about what I was going to do in this particular lifetime, somehow I said, hey, age 68, you can have a stroke. Guess what? Deal with that sucker. So I am. But I'm still here helping you to get some perspective on your life. Your life is certainly different than mine. Now, the next thing that we want to do is appreciate that knowing your path is so much about choosing your path, as I just mentioned. And QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, actually is a very effective tool at this. I've seen some quite amazing things. I've seen healings, spontaneous healings. I had clients that did that. I had people that were emotionally challenged that were better after their QHHT session. And sometimes it's just a curiosity. You get answers to things and you go, well, that was kind of cool. Anyway, the process is just, you're going to find a practitioner. You're going to make your list, one list for the emotional, informational things that you want, the other list for the physical healings that you're interested in. And by the way, that may or may not happen, because sometimes, if you do a little bit of QHHT study, you'll find out that sometimes it's not appropriate for you to get out of that particular physical situation. But sometimes it is. And your higher self knows all of the things about you and can make the changes if it's appropriate for you at this time. So, quantum healing hypnosis technique. It's a great thing. Even if you don't believe in reincarnation, even if it's, the concept is to come across and say, okay, some clients are like, I don't believe in that stuff. Fine. Maybe it's just a story, but you're tapping into that story and you're going to get an opportunity to listen to it again, because it is going to get recorded and you'll get a copy of that. Anyway, just want to give you a tool, because so many people are, in fact, they're in desperate straits right now. They don't know what's going on. with their life, with the world. Obviously, the world has got quite a few things happening right now. And it would be lovely to have some perspective, at least for yourself and for your world and what's going on in your life. So, my name is Jack McAdory, in search of purpose today. So my purpose today, like every day, is to help you find your purpose and get some steps to get you going in the right direction. Because life should be fun, life should be joyful. And I think that if you make yourself useful to yourself and others, that it can be joyful. Anyway, love you a lot. Have a great day. And look up QHHT, Dolores Cannon. And I'll throw one more name out there. Her name is Suzanne Spooner. And I normally give people her website or her YouTube channel information about how to have a good quantum healing hypnosis session because it's just so good. You know, I could do one of my own, but I got to tell you, the one from Suzanne is just excellent. I haven't had an opportunity to speak with her personally, but perhaps one day that will happen. But you can tap in right now and find out about that. And then probably the easiest thing to do is to go to QHHT, I think it's QHHT.com, and you'll find a practitioner in your area. And something interesting, for level 1, level 2, level 3 practitioners, these can go anywhere from $300 to $500 per session. However, when you're just getting started, you are supposed to do a certain number of these for free. So perhaps you can find a new quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner that's still in that process of needing to do some freebies and get one. Now, if you don't need that and you would rather go with a level 2 or level 3 for that level of expertise, well, maybe $300 to $500 is not a big deal for you. Might not be. So go for it, whichever one works best for you. Possibly free, but also it's perfectly fine for practitioners to make a good living because they're providing a great service. I hope that this helps you to find purpose in your life and more meaning. And till next time, we'll see you then.